When I was 5 years old, my mother, my sisters, and I fled from my abusive father in Mexico. We came to Brooklyn with visitor's visas, and with nowhere else to go, we moved in with my grandfather. My mother wanted a better life for us, one without the constant violence and abuse that we faced at home. After a few months, though, our visitor's visas had expired, and my grandfather had passed away. Now, we were four undocumented immigrants just trying to survive. Growing up, I watched as my mother struggled. I watched as she fought this uphill battle for survival. We lived on the bare necessities. We were often forced to move to new apartments every single year, and we were lucky if we found a two-bedroom we can afford. Luxuries like fancy meals and vacations were out of the question. I often wondered to myself, is this really what life is? What my life is going to be like? A struggle for survival in a country that sees us as nothing more than aliens? Once I was old enough to go into high school, my mother had worked very hard collecting money and reaching out, and she was able to actually get me into yeshiva. I realized how fortunate I was, and I finally began to understand the purpose of my mother's sacrifices. She wasn't doing all this so that we can survive. My mother was putting in blood, sweat, and tears every single day so that we could thrive. She saw something in us that pushed her every single day, that gave her the courage to invest everything she had. I made myself a promise that my mother's sacrifices would pay off and that I would get my family out of the situation. And more than that, I finally saw how much love and kindness my mother put into me, how much she invested. I wanted to give that forward, to pay that forward to the rest of the world. I wasn't sure how at the time, but somehow I would find a way to invest in the world and to make an impact for good. Throughout high school, I worked part-time to help my mother pay the bills, helped my sisters through school, all while keeping an eye on college. My options for college were pretty limited. For one, because I couldn't afford it, and very few colleges were taking undocumented immigrants. Thankfully, though, I was able to get into Brooklyn College with a full scholarship through the Macaulay Honors Program. And I remember my first day in school. I set foot on campus, and I just saw this gigantic new world in front of me. A world filled with freedom and opportunity like I'd never seen before. I had gotten pretty good at working and doing school, and I found some time to explore. I went to the Hillel, and when I walked through the doors, I met this woman named Rosita. She came up to me and started a conversation, and she asked me all about myself, my family, my life, and I told her, I'm an immigrant from Mexico with a single mother, and I do school and I work to pay the bills. And then she was listening attentively, and then after I finished speaking, she told me her story and how similar it was to mine. She told me how when she was my age, she also had to work through school to help her family pay the bills. And we connected on this deeper level that I'd never experienced before. We had talked for a long time, sharing stories, getting to know each other, and it was incredible. And after that, Rosita started to invite me to all these Hillel events. And at these events, I got to explore ideas and concepts about myself that I'd never even had the time to think about. Namely, I got to explore my identity more. I got to finally understand how me being Mexican, an immigrant, a Syrian, a Jew, how all of those different identities came together to make me who I am. How my status affects me in college, and how my circumstances are all intertwined. I was really enjoying these events. And one day, I was passing by the office in the Hillel, and I saw Rosita. And I saw her at a desk typing, and I was like, Rosita, what are you doing in here? And she told me, oh, what are you talking about? I work here. I was like, what? You work here? What are you talking about? I've known you for like a week now. You never told me you work here. She's like, yeah, I work. I'm the director of student affairs in the Hillel. I was blown away. I was like, whoa, this entire time, this woman that took so much interest in me and was inviting me to all these things is a Hillel professional, like a professional employee of this gigantic organization that cares this much about me. I was baffled. And after that, I had not only I not only continued to go to Hillel events as a participant, I became an active volunteer. And I was enjoying it so much. I was helping set up. I was bringing more people to the events. And then one day Rosita approached me and told me, hey Albert, we're having this Hillel retreat, this leadership retreat that's funded by a big grant. I think you should come. And I told her, honestly, Rosita, I don't think leadership's for me. I love coming to these events, but I still have school and work, and I'm not really much of a leader, and honestly, I can't afford it anyway. So yeah, I'm sorry, thank you, but no. And she said, listen, Albert, I can get it paid for you. I think you'd be really good there. And right then and there, I was thinking to myself, she's willing to pay for it for me, to find the money, and she thinks I'll do good there. She's willing to invest this much in me, and I should go.